Hi everyone, welcome to estudy.in. So in this video, I'll be talking about tuples and sets. Okay, so let's start off with tuples. Now tuples, it can be pronounced as tuples also or tuples, it's up to you. Okay, so I'll be going with tuples. Now firstly, let us understand what it is. It is a number of values separated by comma and they are immutable. That means they cannot be changed, unlike lists which are mutable. And they can contain heterogeneous genius elements. That means this is again a difference between a tuple and a list, because a list is mostly a homogeneous set of elements, whereas a tuple can be a heterogeneous list of heterogeneous elements, not list, because here the elements can be of different types. We can have integers, we can have strings, okay, which is generally not the case with lists. And tuples can also be nested, which is similar to, of course, lists. Okay, so we'll be seeing how we can do this. Okay, so let's move on to the next and we'll see. Now this is how a tuple can be created. So we simply have a comma separated list here, and if you can see, it is a heterogeneous list because some of the elements are integers and some are strings. Okay, so this is how we can create a tuple. Now the second thing is, if you want to create an empty tuple, you just have to have these round parentheses. That would create an empty tuple. And thirdly, when you're creating a tuple with a single element, please make sure that you do not just put the element in double quotes. It has to be followed by a comma. That means the element should be followed by a comma, otherwise it will just create a string. So if you skip this comma here, so it is just simply you creating a string here. So just remember that when you're creating a tuple with a single element, make sure that you follow the element by a comma here. Okay. Now again, tuples, though they are immutable, that means we cannot change the value of a tuple, but they can contain mutable objects like lists. So here we have an example in which we have a tuple with the elements of the tuple as lists. Okay, right? And some of the terms, two terms which we'll be learning here is tuple packing and tuple unpacking. So this we'll discuss later. First, let us try out these examples, and we'll open the Python shell here. Okay. And this is our shell. So let's try out the examples. Let's create a tuple here. So we'll just write a few numbers here and mix like heterogeneous values. So what we've done is we have created a tuple here, right? So when I print t, so you see a tuple surrounded by round parentheses, right? And we also learned that tuples are immutable. So that means if I try to change the value, let's say t0 is 12, this value. Okay, so if you try to change it, let's see what happens. So it gives us an error. The tuple object does not support item assignment. That means we cannot change it. Okay, right? So again, if we have to create an empty tuple, what we would do is we would simply write this. So this is an empty tuple. There are no elements in this, right? Okay. Now, next is, let's say we want length of the tuple, which we created t. So it gives us 3. So what is 3? If you see t here, it contains 3 elements. So we can use length function on tuple. It will give us the number of elements in the tuple. Okay. Now another thing, okay, here is, this is let's learn how to create a tuple with a single element. Okay. So let's say I am creating a tuple and I'm writing hello here. Okay. And then we have to put a comma here after this. Now we have created a tuple with a single element. So when I say A, so you see this is a tuple with a single element. Whereas on the other hand, let me show you the difference here. If I create this, let's suppose I want to create a tuple with a single element, but I forget to put the comma here. So when you forget to put the comma here, you see, when you print, now see the difference. Here it is surrounded by parentheses, which indicates that it is a tuple. Here it is in single quotes, which indicates that it is a string. So that is the difference between a tuple and a string. Okay, right. Okay, now tuples can also be nested. That means we can have a tuple within a tuple. Okay, so let's suppose okay, we already have this tuple t, and let us create another one. Let's say u is equal to, and here we say t comma, and we just give another tuple here. We will just write 12, 45, 56. Okay, so we have this. Now when you print u, so you see, so the first element of this tuple u is this tuple t. Okay, and the second element is this entire tuple. Okay, so there can be nesting in tuple. Now when you say u and square bracket 0, it should give you this, because this is the entire first element. of the tuple, right? And when you say u0 1, that means first element, second element of this. This is not 0. Okay, just a second. This is O. So say u01. So when you say u01, so this entire thing is u0. When you say, so this is u0. When you say 1, that means the first element of this tuple. So indexing starts from 0. So the first element is ABC. So it should give us ABC. Okay. So this is how the nesting in tuples can be done. Okay. So now another term tuple can contain mutable objects. That means we can have a tuple with which is having lists as its elements. So if I create a tuple S is equal to, and here I can give a list. Okay, so we can say 1, 2, 3. So this is one list, and here let's say 4, 5, 6. So we are creating a tuple which with elements of the tuple as lists. So when you print S, it prints 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again here same thing. When I say S0, the first list, and of course lists are mutable. So here if I want to change, let's say S01. What is S01? S01 is 2, this second element of S0. Now let me try to change it. Let's see if the does that or not, or gives us an error. So S01 is equal to, let's make it 12. So see, it is mutable. So now this element got changed. So that means because the elements of the lists are mutable, so if you have a list as an element of a tuple, that is mutable. Okay, so in an indirect way, if you're having lists as the elements of a tuple, then that can be changed. Okay, but tuples directly, they cannot be changed, right? Okay, now moving on, we will learn what is tuple packing and what is tuple unpacking. Okay, so we have already created a tuple here, T. So if you see the elements of T, we have this. So this is tuple packing. We are packing elements in the T. Okay, so what we did was, let me create another tuple here. Okay, S is equal to, and let me write 12, comma, let's write ABC, comma. Okay, so this is tuple packing. This, we have packed some elements in the tuple. Now when you try to unpack this sequence, so how many elements, what is the length of this tuple? The length of the tuple is S, length S. So that means 3 elements. So now if I want to unpack, let us see what is unpacking is. So we can say X, comma, Y, comma, Z is equal to, here we will write S. This S is the tuple. Now what has happened here is, the elements of S, there were 3 elements in S, and we are trying to unpack it. So unpacking means extracting element from the tuple and putting it in the corresponding respective variables. So but remember that here you should have as many variables here as there are elements in tuple, or as is the length of the tuple. So if the length of the tuple is 3, and when you are unpacking the tuple, there should be 3 elements or 3 variables here. Now if you try to print X, it will print 12, and the value of Y would be ABC, and the value of Z would be 90. See, 12, ABC and 90. So when you say X, Y, Z is equal to S, so X becomes 12, Y becomes ABC, and Z becomes 90. So this feature is called tuple unpacking. This is the reverse operation. Okay, one was packing and this is unpacking. Okay, now moving on, we move on to sets. Now this is another data structure in Python. Now sets, if you remember, maybe in 6th, 7th class maths we did. So it is an unordered collection with no duplicate elements. Duplicate elements are not allowed in set, and a set function or curly braces are used to create sets. But remember that if you want to create an empty set, then you must not use the curly braces, because that would create a dictionary. You should create an empty set only with the set function, not with these curly braces. Okay, now remember that it is an unordered collection with no duplicate elements. Okay, a set is an unordered collection with no duplicate elements. Okay, it will make sense once we learn how to create it. Okay, now let us see some examples of sets. So here we have a set. If you see, we have some duplicate values here. So let us see when we create the set what will happen. Okay, so let's say F is equal to, and we'll use curly brackets and red. Let's put in some colors here, green, blue. Okay, and let's have a pink, and let's have a blue again. So we have created a set here. Now when we print it, you see the duplicate value has been removed from the set. Okay, right? So we cannot have duplicate values in a set. Now next example, here, if you want to search for an element in the set, we can use the in clause. Okay, so let's suppose I'm looking whether the value of red is there in the set or not. So red in F, so this will give you true. So let's say if you're looking for a value orange in F, so it gives you false because it is not there in the set. Okay, now moving on, let us create a set using the set function. Okay, so now when we create a set using the set function, a is equal to set, and let's say hello, right? And as you can see, this word hello has the letter L repeating twice. So when you say a, it will only print the unique elements. That means it will remove the duplicate values from the set. Now set function can receive only one argument. Okay, so only one argument here, and it will make a set with unique values. Now let us create another set. B is equal to set, and here let me just put head. Okay, now when I print the elements of this set B, we have again L has been removed, and it is an unordered collection, so it can give you in any order, right? Now we will do some operations on these two sets A and B. Okay, so some of the operations on the sets. So we have the set A, we have the set B. Some of the elements are common here. H, E, L, L are in both the sets, but O is only in set A. Okay, so this we've already seen. So when we do this A minus B, so that means we want all the items which are in A but not in B. Okay, so the items which are in A but not in B. So hell, if you see here, H-E-L-L, H-E-L-L. It is in B also, it is in A also. So we do not want such elements which are in B. So which is that element? O. So it will give us O. So that is why the output here is O. So A minus B would mean all the elements which are in A but not in B. So this example, according to this example, the output should be O. Now the next example, this symbol, single line, this is called the pipe symbol. Okay, so this stands for OR. So A or B means that items which are either in A or in B or in both. So basically it is like having the elements which are in both the sets. So we have H-E-L-L here and we have H-E-L-L here. So these elements will be there, but of course we want the elements which are in A. So that means all the elements which are in A or in B. So we have already got all the elements of set B in set A as well. So the output here will be E-O-H-L. That means all the elements of A are also there and B are also there. Okay, so items which are in A or in B or in both. So OR. Now this is an AND symbol. Okay, so it basically means items which should be common to both the sets. That means should be in A as well as in B. So which are the elements which are in both the sets? So you see, except for O, the rest of the elements are in both the sets. So it will give us the rest of the elements, and of course because L is being repeated twice, so it will remove the duplicate L. Okay. Similarly, this last one, that stands for XOR. So this is a caret symbol. It should be there in your like you can find this in your laptop and or your computer. On your keyboard you will see it next to 6, I suppose. So this caret sign or inverted V. Okay, it should be in the numeric keypad or not in the numeric keypad, and it's in the numbers just for the alphabets. You will see the symbol upside down V, and this stands for caret. Okay, so here it means A XOR B. It means basically the items which are either in A or in B but not both. So that means the items which should be either in A or in B, not both. So A, the rest of the elements are in both the sets, so they will not be printed. So only the items which are either in A or in B, and that is only O. So it will give us O. So let us try out these operations. So when we say here, we already have set A and we have set B. Okay, so let's say A minus B. A minus B. So A minus B will only give you O because the elements of set A which are not in set B. So let us do A or B. So when you do A or B, okay, so what it would do is it would give you the elements which are either in A or in B or in both the sets. So we have got all the elements. So when we say A and B, the elements which should be in both the sets. So it should give you H-E-L. Okay. Similarly, when we say A XOR B, okay, caret symbol next to 6, I think number 6 on your keyboard. So A XOR B, the elements which are in either in A or in B but not both. So it should give you O. So these are some of the operations which can be done on the sets. So I hope you like the video, and if you liked it, please click on the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel estudy.in, and thanks for watching estudy.in.